Well, good afternoon, folks. It is a gorgeous afternoon out here this afternoon. It's not as nice as it was the other day when it was 23 degrees, but it's certainly nicer than it was yesterday when we woke up to snow. We're gonna have to schedule a redemption video. So this morning I checked on the YouTube stats. One of our videos, Poop-Free Nesting Boxes is called, is about our chicken coop, and the nesting boxes we built in there hit 900 views. Now here's why I need to do a redemption video, because it's an 11-minute video, 9 minutes of which, the first 9 minutes of which, have nothing to do with nesting boxes or the fact that there's no poop in them. But so I'm gonna plan this one out for later maybe in the spring, where we get in there and probably do the whole clean out on the chicken house, and I'll show you the poop-free nesting boxes. But I just thought that was kind of really interesting. Today we hit the 900 mark, and there's probably about 888 people that are pretty disappointed because they watch 11 minutes of sheep herding and pigs and you name it, all kinds of stuff. So anyways, if you ever do want to watch a pretty cool video, there is lots of other interesting stuff in there, but just you'll have to wait to the to the very end to watch about the poop-free nesting boxes. So yesterday we did tag and band a few of our lambs, and every year we kind of get a couple questions about that process and whether it feels good or not. Well, I can assure you it probably doesn't feel that great for a few seconds, but there's a couple reasons why we do it. The banding of the tails we do because of something called fly strike. So if the sheep poops and it gets stuck in the wool in its tail, the flies will come down there, they'll lay maggots in there and basically eat the sheep from the back end forward. It's very, very uncomfortable, very painful for the sheep for a very long time, until either you catch it and you treat it, or subsequently the sheep dies. It all depends on whether you catch it here in the pens or if you catch it out in the pasture. If you catch it out in the pasture, it's probably been happening for a few days, and so it can be pretty hard on them. So docking the tail, I mean, that's for 3 or 4 seconds while that band goes on until the blood circulation is cut off. Yeah, it's pretty uncomfortable, but long term it's much better for them. And then castration. So we have to castrate, because otherwise, I mean, you can see how many ram lambs we've had. Probably 45% of our lambs this year are ram lambs. And when they get to 3 months old, just before weaning, of course, that's when they start to become fertile, and that's like the absolute worst time, because then you could end up, if you end up breeding their own mothers, and not only that, they'd be lambing in the fall, which is never a good time. Trying to raise lambs throughout the winter is really tough. That's why we don't run a second crop of lambs, even with the rams we do have. Trying to keep additional lambs alive during the winter, and trying to get them fat during the winter when you're feeding them hay and grain can be hard and costly. So now I'm out here in the lambing pen, and it's been 2 or 3 days. I think we went all weekend with no lambs. And it's a bit unnerving, because when you go that long without any lambs, it makes you think you're gonna play catch up one day. And that's more than likely gonna be the reality. Is there'll be nothing, and then it'll just be like a lamb-pocalypse. There'll just be lambs everywhere. You know who I don't see though? I don't see Lottie. And Lottie was the one that was probably next in line. I don't see her anywhere. So we're gonna run over, check the lambing shelter. Maybe she's tucked away in there. Maybe it is lambing time. I guess we'll see. Well, hot dandy, look at that. We missed that one by minutes by the looks of things. Good job, Mama. What a wonderful set of twins. Boy, a couple of cuties there, I tell you, hey? You're brand new, hey? Yeah. Oh boy, you're gonna have a beautiful fleece on you too. I'm guessing we probably sticking with tradition, probably one boy, one girl, maybe, or 2 girls. We'll have to check here. That looks like a pair of girls. There you go. Good job, Mama. So now that Lottie's had her babies, the next one on the list is probably Olga over here. And then who else we got? Thelma, Kylie, Edith, and then June. Nobody knows if June's pregnant or not. She's kind of skinny, but I guess we'll see. I figure the rest of these yearlings are pregnant, but I think they'll only have a single. Olga here might have a small set of twins. She's not very, very wide yet, but she also looks like she caught late, so she'll probably be another, if I'm to guess, probably another week yet. So it's getting on kind of late in the evening here now, and I'm about to wrap things up, but there was one question that came up the other day that I didn't want to leave unanswered. So for the folks that have just left town or left the city, and they're getting set up in the country on whether it's a farm, a homestead, an acreage, whatever it might be, suddenly you're just very, very aware of how much waste there can be in your day-to-day life. And so two questions really come up is, how do you manage that waste? And secondly, how do you reduce it? So one thing that we do here on the farm is we divert some food waste from our community and we compost it. And the chickens pick through the compost and they then turn that into food. And that's a really fantastic cycle. But really what it comes down to is, the easy answer is, well, just grow your own food. Just grow your own groceries and then you won't have all this packaging and stuff like that. The packaging itself is actually the answer, not the food. So when you go to the grocery store, and if you're like us and you're trying to divert some food waste, you'll be shocked to know how much is actually packaging. So this Rubbermaid tub, I don't know how many liters it is, but you can see how big it is, right? This is, anyways, this is 3 giant garbage bags of food in this one Rubbermaid tote. The rest of it was plastic clamshells, plastic bags, all this just plastic. That's where the waste is. It's in the packaging industry, not in the food side of things. So being more conscientious of what you're buying and what it's wrapped in. And then obviously, on the downstream side, if you can grow a bit of your own food, given the fact that, we're here in Northern Alberta. There's only so much we can do to grow. Our growing season's like 100 days. It's pretty short. And even then, it's kind of a mad scramble to preserve things over the winter. And, you do, for the most part, most everybody has to rely somewhat on, a little bit at least, on the grocery store. But then, shocking to know how much of yesterday's bread gets tossed out, and even more shocking to know how much packaging and how much plastic is involved in keeping yesterday's bread until today. Anyways, I'm gonna get off my soapbox and I'm gonna get this old bread over to the compost pile and head inside and make myself a cup of tea. So I'll let you go for now. I hope you have a fantastic evening. We'll see you tomorrow.